Welcome to the Wargaming Garage and this combat patrol mission. 500 points on this decimated Imperial industrial outpost. As a very brief overview of how today's going to work, heavily inspired by people like Say Hi Paul, and with a complete lack of any opportunity to play any games, decided to have a play against myself with Death Guard versus Space Marines, and keeping it nice and small for my little brain, 500 points. We'll see how this goes. This channel is basically around me returning back to Warhammer after many years away, and so I can guarantee you one certain thing on this is that mistakes are going to be made. So anyway, let's crack on and see what the armies are like. So here is 500 points of Death Guard. I'm running the Malignant Plaguecaster as my warlord. I've given him the relic that allows him an extra to know an extra power. We are from the Ferryman, is the plague company today, and there should be some information coming up on the screen around what this warlord has got with him. Also, we have 2 squads of plague marines, both pretty standard with just bolt guns and plague knives. This champion here has a power fist and a plague pistol, a plasma pistol, and this squad over here is a relatively standard loadout. I'm not running, although he's modelled with a power fist, I'm not running with one on him today because of points. But again, it's just a standard loadout of 4 marines, bolt guns and plague knives. Along with that, there is a fetid bloat drone with plague spewers. I don't actually have any other models, although I've got 3 of them, that none of them have anything else. And I also have a squad of 10 poxwalkers. As you can see at the front there, that is the party walker. He is the first model my son ever painted, and he's essentially leads the way for every poxwalker party. For the Imperium today, this is the successor chapter for the Salamanders called the Ghosts of the Forge, and this is the lieutenant who's going to be the warlord today. His loadout will be coming up on the screen, but he also has the Anvil of Strength as a warlord trait and the Burning Blade, so he should be an absolute boss when it comes to combat. Accompanying him on this combat patrol are 2 squads of tactical marines. Again, fairly standard loadout on these guys, just bolt guns and with a las cannon at the as a heavy weapon. Then the second squad, a bit more to it. The sergeant has a plasma pistol and a thunder hammer. Again, just bolt guns and then a missile launcher. And then accompanying them on their first rollout is the intercessor squad. Again, all standard loadout. Part 1 has a grenade launcher. Addition to that, we have a rhino for some of the tactical marines to travel in. So hopefully that should be able to a bit of protection and get them up the board for scoring some objectives. Today's mission is incisive attack. So this is the deployment zones. You've got 4 objective markers in a cross across the centre of the battle grid, a 12-inch no man's land, and deployment zones either end of the table. In this particular one, the mission rules are sweep and clear. So if you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase, you do not need to remain on it. It stays under your control even if no models are near it. With the secondary objectives of surgical assault, which is score 5 victory points if you control the objective in your opponent's deployment zone at the end of your turn. just to go over some of the tabletop layout. All of the terrain is from gamemat.eu. There's a couple of additions in terms of jersey barriers and things like that, but the rest of it is all from GameMat. So buildings here and over there in the far corner, and they all count as ruins. Some line of sight obscuring terrain, and again things like scalable terrain in terms of the containers and what they are. Obviously things like the pipes, again giving you light cover, but adding to if you want to scale them and charge over them. And again just some barricades, etc., and a bit of height for the obscuring terrain. So in terms of secondaries, the Death Guard will be taking Spread the Sickness, so we can employ some usage of the Poxwalkers. It's the only one they can do. They'll be taking the one from the mission to gain 5 points for holding the objective in the enemy's deployment zone, and they'll be taking Engage on all fronts. In terms of secondaries for the Space Marines, they'll be taking Oaths of Moment, the No Mercy, No Respite section of the secondaries. They'll also be taking the mission objective to control the objective marker in your enemy's deployment zone, and they'll also take Engage on all fronts. So I've got a couple of dice trays here. I'll be using the red dice for the Space Marines, Ghosts of the Forge, and I'll be using these Games Workshop dice for the Death Guard, the Heralds of the Scourge. So all that's left is to roll off for deployment. Again, we've got deployment zones this end and this end, so we'll roll off for the Death Guard first, a roll of 2, and roll off for Space Marines of 4. So what we'll do is we'll have the Space Marines at this end. Yeah, Space Marines player, I'll go this end. So in terms of deployment, we've spread out a little bit on the Space Marine side, tucked in behind these buildings here. A squad of Tactical Marines with the las cannon tucked in behind there. The Rhino has the other squad of Tactical Marines in it with the missile launcher and the Thunderhammer. The Lieutenant is just squeezed in behind this container, so he's giving to give orders to the Intercessor squad that are also tucked in behind the ruins. For the Death Guard, the Poxwalkers have got themselves within 3 inches of that objective to start off with, along with the Bloat drone, and they're sort of holding up the rear guard in terms of looking after the objective and spreading the sickness for actions and stuff. Then we have a squad of Plague Marines with the Plasma Pistol Champion and the Power Fist tucked in behind the building inside the ruins. Come over to the other flank and we have the Malignant Plague Caster along with the other squad of Plague Marines with just the standard all bolt guns and knives. Okay, so let's go on to roll off and see who has the first turn. So in terms of first turn, let's roll them both together, see what's what. Okay, so Death Guard, Space Marines. Okay, so with the FAQ and the new rules, it's Death Guard, turn 1. So at the end of the Death Guard movement phase, we've brought the first squad of Plague Marines up towards that light cover of the pipelines. The Malignant Plague Casters followed them out, and we'll be casting a couple of spells on them. The Poxwalkers have pretty much remained stationary, whilst this unit of Plague Marines has again come out of cover and started moving towards the centre of the board. The effective Bloat drone advanced for an almighty 2 and got himself within 3 inches of the other side of the container of that objective marker, with the intention of holding that at the start of the next command phase, but tucking in behind the container just to give him a little bit of extra chance in case that las cannon starts getting a line of sight on him. Shouldn't do given the ruins, but we'll just say he's come down this flank because of the intercessors. I know that everything is 2 wound, but there's at the moment there is less heavy firepower down this side of the board. So on to the Death Guard psychic phase, and we'll see what powers we're going to cast. We're going to be casting Miasma of Pestilence and Putrescent Vitality onto this squad over here. So we'll head over to the dice trays and see if they go off. So casting the psychic powers, Miasma of Pestilence, which is a warp charge value of 6. That goes off on a 10. And Putrescent Vitality, which is a warp charge of 7, does not go off. So we'll leave that. We won't bother command point re-rolling. Although we've got 1, we've now got 4 command points for the Death Guard. We'll save those for some other stratagems later in the game. So with nothing else really in range or in line of sight, because we've set up so the Space Marines are pretty much out of line of sight, with the ruins in the way and everything. They're obviously obscuring the rhinos, etc. Then that looks like it's going to be the end of the turn for the Death Guard. So we should be getting the spread the sickness action, which is what the Poxwalkers have been doing on this objective. Hopefully both in the next command phase gaining a couple of points in terms of this objective and potentially that objective in the centre. So on to the Space Marines, turn 1. So here we are at the end of the Ghosts movement phase. The intercessors have moved around the side of the building to draw line of sight to the Plague Marines. The Rhino advanced for a measly 1, but is heading it up to the centre of the field. The Lieutenant worked his way around to stay within 6 inches of this intercessor squad, again barking out the orders, and this tactical unit moved to draw a line of sight against that Blight drone in order to try and plink some wounds off of it. So with the other tactical squad remained inside the Rhino. So what we'll do is move on to the shooting phase. So again, this objective marker was under our control, under the Ghost control at the start of their movement phase. So we can move on from that, but I've also drawn the tactical squad within 3 inches just in case. So what we'll do, we'll start off, we can see with 2 of the Marines we've got, the last cannon can see the Blight drone, and this tactical Marine can see the drone as well. So we'll start off with the last cannon. We did move, so it is we're thinking of using a steady advance stratagem for 2 command points, which negates his movement, so he'll be hitting on 3s. So hitting on 3s, which he hits, wounding on 3s, which he wounds, 5-up demon save, which he doesn't make, for d6 wounds. For Death Guard unit, reduces the wounds by 1 for disgusting resilient, so that's 3 wounds on the Blight drone. So I'll just mark him up. So we're not in rapid fire range, so 1 shot from the bolt gun, which hits and doesn't wound. Okay. So we'll come round now to the intercessor squad trying to take some wounds off of these Plague Marines. None of them are in rapid fire range, so just 5 bolt shots going into the Plague Marines. So we're in Tactical Doctrine, so Devastator Doctrine, so to miss, 1 wound, and no save. So that's 1 wound off of the Plague Marine. So that should see, with no charges in range or anything else like that going on at the moment, that should put us at the end of the Ghost movement phase. So what we should do in terms of scoring, the Oath of Valour, we haven't destroyed anything, but we haven't failed a morale test or fell back, but we haven't got anything within 6 of the centre. So should just be 1 victory point scored, with obviously no primaries being scored at the moment. We're not in engaging all fronts, and we're certainly nowhere near the enemy's objective marker in their deployment zone. So that's the end of the battle round. It's currently, just an update, I rolled the D3 for the Spread the Sickness and lost 2 of the Plague Marine Poxwalkers, but that now puts the Death Guard on 3 points at the end of the battle round, and should be the Ghost of the Forge should be on 1. So on to battle round 2. So here we are at the end of the Death Guard movement phase. The squad of Plague Marines has moved over the pipes, got themselves to within 3 of this objective. The Plague Caster has moved around behind him, behind that squad. The Poxwalkers have just done a gentle shamble forward into just slightly closer to that objective, and they'll again be spreading the sickness on that for hopefully another 3 points at the end of this battle, this turn. The Plague Marines around here have just moved forward, and the Bloat drone has advanced. I've got a whopping 6 for the advance to bring it within 3 inches for this battle round of these intercessors, thereby reducing their toughness by 1. So hopefully that's going to make a difference on this intercessor squad. We'll see what these Plague Marines and the auto-hitting spewers are able to do to this intercessor squad. So on to the psychic phase. Again, not much being in range, so what we may end up doing, or should end up doing, is just putting, again going for Miasma of Pestilence and Putrescent Vitality onto this Plague Marine squad in an effort to just try and keep them alive a bit longer. Okay. So again, doing the Miasma of Pestilence onto that Plague Marine squad. It goes off on an 8, and for the Putrescent Vitality, warp charge of 7, and that goes off this time, so they are extra strength and toughness and -1 to hit. So we're going to start with the Bloat drone into the intercessor squad. Try and remove some of this down that flank, and then potentially see what we can do about that Rhino as well. Actually, Rhino. No, I'm in contagion range of these intercessors. Right, so 2 D6 shots, automatic hits for 7. Four, 5, 6, 7. So strength 3. Toughness 3, strength 6 on the Plague Spear, so wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s because it's a plague weapon. Okay, so that'll be 7 4-up saves minus 1 damage. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Oh dear. That's 1 dead, 2 dead, and 1 takes a wound. Okay, so a good opening salvo from the Blight drone. So now on to the Plague Marines. All of them are in rapid fire range, so we'll start off with the bolt guns. So that'll be 8 shots. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So 8 shots hitting on 3s. And what we'll do, we'll spend a command point on virulent rounds. So putting us down to 4 command points. So that means that it's a plague weapon, so we can re-roll all 1s on the wound rolls. So we're wounding on 3s because the Marines are down to toughness 3. Strength 4 on the bolters. So that is 4 wounds, no AP. And again, 1 wound lost on that 1 wound Marine, so another one goes pop. So all told, the Intercessor squad is looking a bit thin on the ground now, and so morale's going to be a thing over on this side of the flank. So working our way around to the other side, what we'll look at doing, the only thing we can do, which is really start taking pot shots at the Rhino, because of ruins and obscuring, that squad can't actually be seen. So we'll have a measure up and get some dice rolled. One moment. Told you mistakes will be made. Yeah, one moment. The plasma pistol hasn't fired, so that's 1 shot. Hitting on 3s. Hits. Wounding on 2s. We're overcharging. Doesn't wound. Okay. Doesn't matter in the end. Okay, so we have over the other side we have all 5 Plague Marines in rapid fire range. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 10 shots hitting on 3s. So that's 9 hits. Wounding on 5s. Toughness 7 on the Rhino and strength 4 on the bolters. So 1, 2 wounds, no AP, and 1 wound goes through. Okay, so mark that up. Okay, so with all the shooting done, on to the charge phase. So looking through it, the only thing that we think is going to be worth charging on this side is it's an 11-inch charge for these Plague Marines into the Intercessors. So it's still worth a shot. And the bloke drone will go into the Rhino. So the Space Marines, Rhino will spend a CP to Overwatch. Why not? It might do something. It's in rapid fire range for 2 storm bolters. 1 hit. No wounds. Okay, so let's see if it makes the charge. It certainly does on an 11. Okay. Should have done that for the Plague Marines. Never mind. Okay, and the Plague Marines, I can't Overwatch now anyway. It's okay, so I'm getting another 11-inch charge. It's an 11-inch charge. Right, I'll move them in and we'll go from there. So once the piling had happened, I think we've got to a point where we've got 3 eligible to fight. I don't think that the champion with his power fist, unfortunately, correct me if I'm wrong, but please do, but the way I'm looking at that, that's over half an inch because of the consolidation didn't quite get him in, so I'm taking that as being over half an inch away from the model that is within an inch of engagement range. So I'm counting on these 3 here, so based on that I'm going to spend some command points. We were down to 4, I'll just mark that up. So we're going to look at Eternal Hatred, which gives us that +1 to the attacks wound roll, and we're going to look at Trench Fighters so they can make an additional attack with their Plague Knives, so that'll be 3 attacks each, and adding 1 to the wound roll. That puts us down to 2 CP, and they're the 2 that are in play. Slight amendment to that, given the fact that I could take myself down to 1 CP, and I really want that Intercessor squad dead, I may also take the Creeping Blight, which means that any attack with a Plague weapon, so Plague Knives, on a wound roll of 6, that has an armor penetration of -4, so it doesn't give them a save. So what with +1 to the wound roll, to increase the chance of wounding, plus Eternal Hatred giving the plus Trench Fighters giving them additional attacks, I'm hoping that some Sixers will creep in and not give them any saves. So let's see how we get on. So here we are, we've got 3 that are eligible, so they'll be getting 2 attack space plus 1 additional attack for the stratagem times 3, so that'll be hitting on 3s, and with contagion range being a thing and the Eternal Hatred stratagem means we're wounding on 2s. So a bunch of 1s and 2s there. Okay, so plus their plague weapons, so they're rerolling 1s on the wound. So they all wound with 1/6 there. Okay, so that's 1 wound straight through. So that's an additional 4 saves. Oh, that doesn't look too clever. That's the squad wiped. Okay, so making our way over to the bloat drone. It has 4 attacks on the charge, and it's now, because of contagion range, it'll be strength 6 versus toughness 6. -2, sorry, 1 damage. So 4 attacks going in. Okay, they all hit. Forced to wound. 2 wounds at -2. Okay, 1 goes through, so that pops up to 2 wounds taken on the rhino. I guess it's attacks back. No hits. Right. So, at the end of that, the Plague Marines consolidated 3 inches forward into the ruins, making their way through. And with the bloat drone here, again within range of the objective, starting to really harass the Space Marines lines here. So at the end of that phase, end of the turn, the Poxwalkers have been spreading the sickness, so again, to ensure that they are ahead by quite some points at the moment, but let's ensure those points and take D3 mortal wounds for 2 again, and 2 6-up shrugs. Ah, only lose 1. Okay, and that should mark the end of the Death Guard's turn. So some damage done down this left hand flank, taking rid of that, getting rid of the Intercessor squad, in combat with the Rhino, and really starting to press the lines and go ahead on the points. Let's see how the Space Marines counter. Okay, so we're back at the end of the Ghost movement phase. So a bit of thought had to go into this one. Basically, we've got the bloat drone in our lines here, this Plague Marine unit heading through as well, and so had to think about whether I thought the lieutenant was going to be enough on his own to take down that unit, and I just didn't think he was. So although he's an absolute boss, with the disgustingly resilient taking one off the damage, he's got to really do some work to get through that whole unit in one go. So the tactical unit with the Thunderhammer disembarked, and the Rhino moved out of combat and fell back, so heading towards the centre of the table there to try and secure that objective for the next turn. A bit of shuffling here into the ruins, in effort to then try and take down as many of the wounds off of this bloat drone as possible. So hopefully, if the turn goes well, we can clear the bloat drone, clear the Plague Marines, and start heading up the table towards the mid-table objectives. So let's see, we've added one more command point to the pool, and we've gotten rid of the stratagems for the Primaris, because obviously we don't have any left, which is a bit of a bummer. Anyway, so on to the shooting phase, so we're going to start off with this squad here, and they're going to put all shots, everything into the bloat drone. Let's just have a quick see if there's anything else we can add to them. As we've moved, and that does affect the heavy weapons in the squad now, we're going to go and add a stratagem for steady advance for 2 command points, taking us down to 2. So we can fire the heavy weapon without penalty. So we're all in rapid fire range, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8 shots into the bloat drone. Okay, drop 1. And we should be within 6 of the lieutenant. Just quickly check. Yep. So hopefully re-rolling 1s. Strength 4, toughness 7, sorry. So 5's to wound. So 3 wounds minus 1. Tactical doctrine. Okay, so 1 goes through. Now the last cannon. Hits. Fails to wound. I'll spend a CP on that one. I really want to try and get rid of it. Oh, okay, no worries. Right, so then what we'll do is this tactical squad will fire everything into the Plague Marines, but the missile launcher will fire a crack missile into the bloat drone. So again, that is 6 shots into the Plague Marines. Okay. So 3 wounds, minus 1. Okay, 1 takes a wound. 1 was on 1 wound, so that's him gone. I'll remove him in a minute. And then the sergeant with his plasma pistol hits, wounds, and saves. For some reason I had it in my head it was -2 if it wasn't overcharged, but it's not, it's -3, so it does take a wound. So that's 1 wound down on the Plague Marine. So remove him and put you down to 1 wound. There we go. So now the crack missile into the Blight drone. Misses. Okay. I have to do this on hardware then. So we've only left is the lieutenant. So what we'll do is we'll fire the grav into the Plague Marines. So hitting on 2s, just hits. Wounding on 4, strength 5 versus toughness 5. Ooh, okay, doesn't wound. Right, okay, on to the charge phase. So what we're going to do, declare some charges. We're going to charge all 3 units, okay, into the threat that we've got here. So we're going to charge this tactical squad and the lieutenant into these Plague Marines, and we're going to charge this tactical squad into the Blight drone. Based on the fact that we have 1 command point left for the Death Guard, I wonder if we want to do a Overwatch. 1 command point, get 1 back next turn. Okay, yeah, so we'll Overwatch. So we'll declare the charge, so that tactical unit into the Blight drone, we'll Overwatch. Okay, so that is 10 auto hits. So that's 5, 8, 10. The strength is still 6. Contagion range is a thing against toughness 3, so wounding on 2s. And re-rolling 1s because of plague weapon. So that is all 10 wounds. It's -1, 1 damage. So looking for 10 4-up saves. This could be bad. Okay, so 5, 9, 10. Okay. So that's 1, 2, 2.5. Okay, 2.5 lost to Overwatch. Okay. Let's see if we get him. On a 3. Oof. Yeah, just about, I think. Okay, let's see who we can remove. Okay, so we've moved them in. We haven't piled in yet, but we've got them in there. So what we'll do is roll up for the tactical squad getting into the Plague Marines. Okay, on an 8 they make it, and let's look at the lieutenant. On the 7 he makes it. Okay, so let's see if the lieutenant can do the business here. He's wielding the burning blade and he's got the amble of strength, so he has 3 attacks base and +1 for shock assault. So he's strength 4 +2 for amble of strength, taking him up to strength 6 +3 for the burning blade, so that's up to strength 9, down to so that's strength 9 against toughness 5. So we're wounding on 3s. So hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s. Each one is -3, 2 damage. So it hits all the time. And he does 2 wounds. Re-rolls that one. Oh no, he's not core, so he doesn't re-roll one for himself anymore. So, okay, it's 2 wounds at -3. 2 damage each. Okay, both failed, so but reduced by 1. So that is 1 Plague Marine cut down. and another one on 1 wound due to disgusting resilient. Okay, so what we've got next is 4 Marines and then the Sergeant with the Thunder Hammer. So what we'll do, we'll get everything set up and get in with the Sergeant. Okay, so the Sergeant's about to wield in with this Thunder Hammer, but because it is unwieldy, but he gets 2 attacks base, plus 1 for shock assault, but as it is unwieldy, we're going to use the stratagem Death of the Traitors. So using the stratagem in the fight phase, when an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is selected to fight, till the end of that phase, each time model in that unit makes a melee attack against a Heretic Astartes, you can re-roll the hit roll. So hopefully it just gives me that extra chance, because I'm hitting on 4s, so maybe I'll get an extra chance to just get a re-roll that hit, especially with the Thunder Hammer. Okay, which is good, because we've only got 1 so far. Okay, so that's 2 hits. Okay, I am now strength 8 against toughness 5, so I am wounding on 3s, but each one is -2 and 3 damage, so each one failed will be a death guard. Okay, so 1 goes through. I don't have any CP left to re-roll that, so 1 goes through, so we're looking for 5s, which we don't get, so that then reduces that by 1, and that's 1 dead Astartes, because damage does not spill over. So okay, so now it's down to two death guard left, got 3 Marines, so that's 1 attack base and 1 for shock assault, 1 attack base, 1 for shock assault, 1 attack base, 1 for shock assault. So hitting on 3s. Okay, wounding on 5s, strength 4, toughness 5. Okay, re-rolling the 1s for the Lieutenant. Okay, so 2 wounds, no AP. Okay, 1 goes through. So whilst we've not managed to wipe the unit, we've certainly managed to tie them up. So we'll have them fight back. They've lost 3, so hopefully morale might be a thing, because they've got no CP to save them, so we'll see what happens. Okay, on to the other unit. We've got 3 with the Sergeant. They're just nothing but their own weapons, so that's so we've got 7 attacks coming in, hitting on 3s. They're out of range of the Lieutenant now, so toughness 7, strength 4, so wounding on 5s. Okay, 2 wounds, again no AP, and both fine. Okay, so now the Blade Marine gets a strike back, 2 hits. Strength 4 against toughness 3, so wounded on 3s because of contagion. Okay, no wound. Okay, and then the Blight drone, 2 hits, 1 wound, and fails the save, so 1 damage goes through. So that's the end of the Ghost's turn. Morale over here for the Death Guards. We'll roll that, see what happens. Okay, so they've lost 3, leadership 8, so they're absolutely fine. They hold. Okay, so at the end of that turn, we've managed to tie the drone up in combat, so if it falls back it can't do anything, so that will tie that lot up. We'll tie the Marines up in combat, with the Ghosts be able to strike first on this turn unless they fall back, but if they fall back they can't do anything anyway. Rhino's moved up, so we'll be, in terms of point scoring, we had 1 for the primary, and then we have, looking through, engaged on all fronts. We currently don't have, but we do have the Oath of Duty. Come on, focus. Which is having 1 unit within 6 inches of the centre of the battlefield, so the Rhino will grab that. We also score 1 victory point because we haven't failed a morale test, and we haven't fell back during the battle round. But we have not destroyed any character vehicles, monster units, so we don't get any points there either. Okay, so we'll rack them up and see where we stand. So as we head into battle round 3, it's looking at the moment like it's 23 points to the Death Guard, to 9 to the Ghosts. That early move forward by the Blight drone to secure that objective and get them the maximum for that round, really pushing the Death Guard ahead in this at this point. So what we'll do, we'll mark things up and get things counted up and move on to battle round 3. Okay, so we're back at the end of the movement phase for the Death Guard, and what we've done is had a slight shuffle with the Poxwalkers, just on the fact that if we're pulling them back here a little bit, then they're out of line of sight of the Rhino. So if he does survive this next round, then when he starts firing down this firing lane here, he's not going to get everybody. We can start to use some stratagems like raising the Poxwalkers again. So they've had a bit of a shuffle. This unit of Plague Marines has moved forward over the objective, heading their way making their way towards the Ghost deployment zone. The Plague Casters move around into view of the Rhino to get some smites off. Everyone else has stayed in combat. So what we're going to do, the threat seems to not be significant really for the Plague Marines being hit by too much at the moment. So we'll fire a smite off to the Rhino and then put Miasma of Pestilence on the Poxwalkers to get them a -1 to hit, just in case anything does come firing through. So start with the smite, and that goes off on a 7 for D3 mortal wounds, and it's the big 3, so that's a Rhino up to 5 wounds, 5 wounds remaining. And Miasma of Pestilence goes off on a 6, and with an 8 that goes off nicely, so those Poxwalkers are now -1 to hit. So on to the shooting phase. There's not going to be too much, so we'll probably fire the Plague Marines into the Rhino. We'll take a look and see what's in range and where. So on to the shooting phase. The only thing that's going to fire at this point is going to be this unit of Plague Marines into the Rhino. They can see it's behind, sticking out the back of the storage tank there. So they're all in rapid fire range, so that's going to be there's nothing in there but bolters, so 10 shots into the Rhino. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 10 shots in, hitting on 3s. Okay. Ugh. So strength 4, this is toughness 7, so running on 5s. Actually toughness 6, but regardless, because that, I think, oh, excellent. Okay, so nothing doing there then. So with that complete lack of effectiveness, we're on to the fight phase. So on to the charge phase. We're going to declare a charge with this unit into the Rhino. It's an 8-inch charge from the champion, so let's see how we get on. We won't be doing Overwatch. I haven't got any CP left for the Space Marines at the moment. So, 7 inches, that fails. I have 1 CP. Do I want to re-roll that? No, I don't think I will. And we'll start off with the Bloat drone over here. Now, because the Night Defenders go first, so it'll be 6 attacks. There's no shock assault this time, so that'll be 4 attacks going in, 1 for each of the Marines and 2 for the Sergeant. So again, hitting on 3s, wounding on 5s, 1 wound, which is fine. Okay, so coming over this side, I'll start with the Lieutenant again. So again, 3 attacks base, there's no shock assault this time, hitting on 2s, they all hit, wounding on 3s, they all wound this time, so -3, 2 damage each. Okay, 2 go through, so that's 1 killed and 1 down to 1 wound. So I'll leave the champion alive in case he does get in case he survives. So we'll start with the Sergeant again. 2 attacks, no shock assault this time. Hitting on 3s. So hitting on 4s due to being unwieldy. Okay, they both hit, and that'll be strength 8 versus toughness 5, so that's wounding on 3s and 2 wounds, so -3, so -2, 3 damage, so looking for 5s here to keep that plague champion alive. Oh, we get one but don't get the other, so that they drag down the plague champion, frees them up to move on to the next objective. So what we'll do, we'll fight back with the Bloat drone, get 4 attacks. Okay, 3 hit. So strength 6 versus toughness 3, so wounding on 2s. 2 wounds, -1. Now re-rolling that 1, plague weapon, that's slower, made no difference. And not a problem at all. The Space Marines weather that storm and free themselves up. So after the fight phase, the tactical squad and the Lieutenant consolidate back towards the Bloat drone, try and clear this pest from the lines with a potential charge, and then see if we can start to move up the board and take down, remove the threat from here, and potentially remove the head that Rhino up towards their lines and try and score some points. Badly in need of it, so let's see what the Space Marines do in their turn 3. So after this Space Marines movement phase, the Lieutenant's ordered this squad out of combat into the ruins, giving them the potential, if they can last another round, to start taking either pot shots at these Plague Marines up here and hold them up, or even, because he's out on his own, if the las cannon survives, then maybe try and take a pot shot at the Plague Caster, because he's lookouts there, he's got no protection there at the moment. Whilst this tactical squad led by the Lieutenant in support is going to try and clear the lines back here. Meanwhile, the Rhinos charged as far as they can up the table, didn't advance, so they can still try and shoot and get rid of some of those poxwalkers off the objectives, and just start to harass the Death Guard in their own in their own lines. So let's see what the shooting phase brings. So we'll start with the tactical squad taking on the Blight drone. So there's 3 Marines there in rapid fire range. So we're hitting on 3s. Reading on 5s, re-rolling 1s. Okay, no 1s, but certainly 2 wounds. So 2 wounds at -1. So 4 up save. Okay, we get 1, we don't lose 1. So that's a Blight drone with 5 wounds remaining. Plasma pistol, rapid fire. We do have a command point, so I'm going to risk it. We will overcharge and try and plink some more wounds off of that Blight drone. Okay, it misses. We'll leave that. And now for the lieutenant, we'll go for the grav. So hits strength 5 versus toughness 7, so wounding on 5s. No wounds. Okay, have to save it for melee. So then the storm bolters from the rhino into the poxwalkers. So we're over here. We can see 4 of them, so hopefully we can get rid of those 4, leaving those 3 in cover, but certainly get ourselves into a position where we're clearing those back lines. So hitting on 3s. Strength 4 versus toughness 3, so winning on 3s. Toughness 4, I think they are now. I'll have a look. This is what happens. Okay, I'll just check that. Yeah, I thought they'd gone up, so that's 1 wound. 6 up shrug, which he doesn't make, so 1 poxwalker goes. Yeah, not so great. So let's see what happens in the charge phase. Okay, so here we are in the Ghosts charge phase. So we'll start off with the lieutenant. He's going to charge in and see if we can get into the combat. Let's see how we get on. Okay, with the 6, that should get him in. And then with the tactical squad, actually, do we want to spend a CP on Overwatch? Yeah, why not? Okay, got that CP left for 8 automatic hits. 2, 4, 6, 8. And re-roll in the 1s. Good job. Okay, so 7 3-up saves for the lieutenant. Only takes 2 wounds on his way in, 2 remaining. Okay, and then the tactical squad with a 9, they definitely get in. So we'll move them all in and do the pile-ins and move on to the fight. So after the pile-ins, it looks a little bit like this. Of course, it makes no odds to the Blight drone because you've got the fly keyword, so you won't be trapped. But basically, we've tried to get in circle as much as we could. So we'll start off with the lieutenant. Again, he has 3 attacks base with 1 for shock assault, hitting on 2s. Okay, hits 3 of the times. He'll be strength 9 versus toughness 7, so he'll be wounding on 3s. All 3 wound. It'll be -3, so onto his demon saves. So he had 5 wounds remaining, so let's see how he gets on. Okay, passes 2, fails 1, it's 2 damage reduced to 1 damage, so he's got 4 remaining. So just mark that up. Okay, so onto the Thunder Hammer. So it's 2 attacks with 1 attack for Shock Assault. Again, we will spend. Oh no, we can't do that one because it's a heretic start to his unit. So hitting on 4s. Okay, 2 hits. Strength 8 against toughness 7, so wounding on 3s. Okay, 1 wound. -3, so 5 up demon save, which he makes. Oh dear, that's not going to plan. Okay, so 4 Marines left, 2 attacks each, Shock Assault. Hitting on 3s. Good spread so far, but wounding on 5s. Strength 4 versus toughness 7. 2 wounds. Both saved. This bloke drone is a boss. Okay, so that gets to strike back. It's got 4 attacks. Oof. Hits once. Wounds. Strength 6 versus toughness 3. -1, 1 damage, and does a wound. Okay, so we'll mark up the Marine. So that brings us to the end of the Ghosts turn 3. I think they're going to be falling well behind on points right now. Let's see, end of the battle round. To be honest, we certainly are nowhere near the Death Guard's objective. We even if we did get into range, we're not going to get our objective secured because the Poxwalkers are there and we're just a vehicle. We're not engaging on all fronts. We've got 1, 2. No, that unit's not wholly within it, I don't think. Let me know what you think, but I think the lieutenant being there, you're on the line, I think. So you've got that table quarter certainly, this table quarter certainly, but I debate that we're on the line there with that tactical unit. So we're not going to get engaged on all fronts, I don't think. And because we fell back, hoping to do some damage through shooting, we are not going to get Oath of Honour either, so I don't think we're in a good place right now. So points being what they are, let's see what the Death Guard do in battle round 4. Okay, we're going to do things a little bit out of order. So you join us at the end of the Death Guard's movement phase. So the Plague Marines have moved up, start to getting into the lines again for this last for the tactical squad that's inside the ruins. The Plague Caster has moved across to get in range of and try and stop this Rhino getting any further. The Poxwalkers have remained where they are, and of course the Bloat Drone has remained in combat, tying those 2 units up. So what we're going to do, as we've gained a command point for the next round, we're going to use the stratagem, the Dead Walk again, just to really be annoying. So use it in the command phase and select one of the Poxwalkers from the army unit and roll 7 d6s, and for each 3 up, one of that unit's destroyed models is added back to it with 1 wound remaining. So we're going to take ourselves down to a single CP again and grab ourselves 7 dice, so 2, 4, 6, 7. For every 3 up, let's get a Poxwalker back. So not bad. That's 4 return to the battlefield. How disgustingly smelly and annoying. So that party walker, he just felt that that party was just not over. So he gets himself back up again, dusts himself off, ready to get in the way of this rhino. Okay, so in an effort to try and put an end to this now, and get to a point where the Space Marines cannot come back, what we're going to do, we're going to start off with a smite into the rhino, and then we're going to cast Putrescent Vitality on the Plague Caster, and try and make a charge with both the caster and the Poxwalkers into the rhino, and see if we can finish that off and end any hope of them getting up the board to score these 5 points up here. Okay, so onto the psychic phase. Let's see what we can manifest. Okay, so there's a smite going off on the 5. On the 7 that goes off for D3 mortal wounds. Let's see what we get. Okay, for 2, so that leaves a rhino with 3 wounds remaining, and Putrescent Vitality onto himself, and that goes off on a 7 as well, so he's got extra strength and toughness. Still winning on 5s, but you know, it's every little helps, I guess. Right, so mark that up on the rhino and move on to the shooting phase. So no other viable targets really, because these guys are in combat. The rhino is over there. We could split fire, but I'm gonna in fact, yeah, what we're gonna do, we'll split the fire, because I want to try and save these guys for some combat in an effort to get the Death Guard up the field, accelerate forward, and then we've got troops up against this to contest this objective. So let's see what happens. So we'll split the fire. We'll put these 3 that can see the rhino into the rhino, and these 2 at the front here will go into these Marines. Okay, so let's do the 3 at the back. Okay, so 3 hits, toughness 4, so strength 4 versus toughness 6, so wounding on 5s. So 1 wound, which is fine. So 2 at the front into the remaining 3 Marines. Okay, 3 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 3, so wounding on 3s. Again, 1 wound, no AP, it's fine. Okay, so that being the case, onto the charges. Okay, turns are speeding up now because of the lack of units. Right, so Poxwalkers and the Plague Caster will go into the rhino, try and hold that up, and these Plague Marines will go into that unit of Tactical Marines there. So we'll start off with the Poxwalkers. On an 8 they're in. Plague Caster on a 4, no, he's failed to get in. Okay, and the Plague Marines into that tactical unit on a 6 there in 2. Okay, we'll move them all in and get on to the fight phase. Okay, so after the pile in on this unit for the Plague Marines, we're going to use a 1 CP for Creeping Blight. So any wounds on an unmodified 6 will do AP -4. So let's see if we can finish off this unit of Tactical Marines, and see if we can advance on towards the enemy. So 5 men in the squad, 2 attacks each, 3 attacks on the sergeant. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 11. Again, the sergeant hasn't got a power fist or anything, it's just a bog standard because of points. So I'm hitting on 3s. Oof, okay. Dropped quite a few there. Now, strength 4 versus toughness 3 because of contagion. So wounding on 3s and 6s, AP -4. Okay, so 2 goes straight through, so that's 1 Marine killed straight away, and 1 extra wound. So I'll roll the wound, and he passes, so it's 1 Marine down. We'll remove him in a minute. And whilst we counter how many Potswalkers we managed to get into contact with the Rhino. Okay, so it looks like 8 have made it in, so with 2 attacks each. Although they're wounding on 6s, let's see what we can do. 2, that's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that was more complicated than it needed to be, but still. Hands. Okay. Okay, 6s again. No wounds. Okay, but at least the one is tied up in combat. I guess to strike back. Nothing. Okay. So moving over to now the combat over here. So the attackers are gone first. So what we'll do, actually let's strike back with these 2 Marines here. So we've got the sergeant and the standard Marine. So 3 attacks with shock assault for the sergeant and 2 attacks for the tactical Marine. Okay. So hitting on 3s, 1 bar 1. Strength 4 versus toughness 5, so winning on 5s. No wounds. Okay. So now we come over to the Blight drone. We'll start off with the lieutenant again, defending again. So that is 3 attacks base, hitting on 2s, all hit. Strength 9 versus toughness 7, so that's wounding on 3s. Okay, 2 wounds on the demon save. Okay, 1 goes through, it's 1 wound because of disgusting resilience, so he has 3 left. And now the rest of the Marines, we'll do the sergeant last. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't get a shock assault this time. Oops, didn't want that one. Right. All hit. 5s to wound. 1 wound. No AP. He's fine. And now I don't think this will all necessarily. Well, we've got 2 wounds from the sergeant, so both need to go through in order to finish off this drone. Okay, so 1 hits. No, neither hit because it's unwieldy. So that's the end of that. So yet again, another tied up into combat. I'd say what I have forgotten, and this is again told you mistakes we've made. That the Blight drone would have been able to fire into combat during the shooting phase, so that, I don't think it would have changed his outcome for certain, but it certainly would have done something to those Marines. So again, mistakes were made, so apologies. So let's attack back. Two hits. Strength 6 versus toughness 3, so 2's to wound. Okay, 2 wounds at -2. Okay, I'll just double check that is -2 for the plague probe. Bear with me a second. It is -2 damage, so that kills the Marine on 1 wound and puts another one down to 1 wound remaining. So we'll remove those casualties and see where that leaves us. Okay, we go on to the Ghosts turn 4, and basically everything is tied up in combat still. We haven't dropped out on anything, because anything that falls out, we haven't got anything left that's out of combat that can do anything at all in terms of shooting. I know I've missed all of the shooting all the way through in terms of combat. I'm not going to start it now. I'll remember it for next time, just because I don't want to, magically kill off the drone when I know the drone could probably have done some damage back to these Marines. So in terms of shooting, so I'm going to leave that, but I will remember it for next time. Like I say, this is a learning curve, and mistakes are going to be made all the way through. So with absolutely all we've done so far is, again, we've remained on this objective and that objective. Nothing has gone near it to claim that for the Death Guard. So we remain on 10 points gathered there. We are still behind. It's this next turn is going to be pretty critical in terms of freeing units up to deal with what's in front of them. So anyway, let's move on to we haven't got any shooting. There's no psychic in this in the Space Marines army, so it's on to the fight phase really straight away. So defenders fighting first. So we'll come over here. Again, we've got 10 attacks coming in to those 2 tactical Marines. Do a bit more consolidation round. We would have done anyway in terms of last turn. So let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, hitting on 3s. Maybe dropping a couple there, and not that one. Again, wounding on 3s because of contagion. Rerolling 1s because of the plague weapons. Okay, so that is 6 wounds. Okay, we lose another Marine. So leave the sergeant. And over to the Blight drone. So again, 4 attacks. Or 4 hit. And 2 wounds. -2, 1 damage. And they're both okay. Cool. So now we get to strike back. We'll strike back with the sergeant first out of that the lonely sergeant over there. Again, hitting on 3s, both hit. Wounding on 5s, 1 wound, and 1 Death Guard takes 1 wound. We'll mark him up in a minute. I'll just put that there. And okay, back over to the lieutenant again. See if we can do it this time. Now's your time to shine. Come on, let's go for it. Okay, hits all the time. Okay, wounding on 3s. Okay, we have a 1 wound. Demon save. Okay, so that'll be another damage because it's damage 2 on the burning blade. So it takes it down to 2 wounds remaining. We'll go again for the 3 remaining Marines. Okay, all hit. Wounding on 5s. 1 wound. And he fails the wound. Okay, that's 1 wound remaining. So hopefully this Thunder Hammer can actually now do the business and free up this unit, because that would be about the best thing. So 2 attacks, hitting on 4s. But what we'll do, we'll spend our 1 CP down to. Oh no, we can't do that. Can't do that. Wrong strategy. And we miss both times. I'm going to spend a CP. Come on. Okay, it hits. It's wounding on 3s. It wounds. Okay, 5 up demon save to save the bloat drone. It makes it. Okay. Oh, I forgot the poxwalkers need to attack as well. Sorry, that's out of sequence. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, 1 hit, do it over here. No wounds. Very nearly there. Good effort. Okay. And the Rhino strikes back. And no hits. Okay. So we've lost 1 more there. He should be fine for morale. And nothing doing here. So that marks the end of the Space Marines turn 4. Okay, now we're at the start of Death Guard turn 5, and so what we've done, we've left the Poxwalkers in combat, tying up that Rhino. They're still within 3 of that objective anyway. We've moved the Plaguecaster forward. He now cannot see that Rhino. It's out of line of sight, so as far as I'm aware, that means that Smite will be hitting the nearest visible unit, which is the guys in combat with the bloat drone, because again he can't see that sergeant that's in combat with the Plague Marines. So we're going to go for Smite and Curse of the Leper on that unit up there in the psychic phase. So we'll start off with the Smite. That goes off on a 9 or D3 for 1. So that kills that 1 Marine. So now Curse of the Leper, we roll in 7 dice, and for everything that exceeds the toughness, so bear in mind it's toughness 3 now, so anything on a 4 up will do a mortal wound. So 1, 2, 3, 4 mortal wounds, so that's 2 more Marines down. Okay, I'll remove them for casualties, and we'll move on to the next phase. So pretty brutal stuff down here. We're just leaving the sergeant alive and the lieutenant in combat. Really will see if we can get rid of these this bloke drone this turn. Fingers crossed. Again, these guys are staying in combat, so with defenders fighting first, well, there's no other shooting to go on. Again, like I say, with missing the shooting, I'm going to continue missing the shooting, even though I know it's incorrect for the remainder of this game. There's only one. This is the last turn, so but I will remember it for the next time, like I say. So 2 attacks from the sergeant coming in, hitting on 3s, both hit, wounding on 5s, no wounds. 3 attacks coming in from the lieutenant, hitting on 2s, 2 misses, wounding on 3s, wounds, and let's try a 5-up demon save, which we make. Hurrah! And 2 attacks from the sergeant, hitting on 4s. 1. I'm already down to 1 CP. No, I'll save the CP. Right, wounding on 3s. Wounds. Demon save. Save the bloke drone again. No. Finally. Does it explode? Yes. Yes, it does. Right, we'll figure out the mortal wounds. Hang on. Okay, so quite straightforward. Actually, it says only 1 mortal wound for each unit, so that's 1 on the sergeant and 1 onto the lieutenant. So I mark them up and remove the drone. There was no attacks, successful attacks from the rhino onto the poxwalkers, so we'll resolve that shortly. We'll go back to the poxwalkers in a moment. We're going to just see what we can clear up here with these 5 plague marines back onto this sergeant and see what we can do. Okay, so again, 2 attacks each. 10 attacks coming in. Hitting on 3s. Wounding on 3s. Okay, so wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s for plague weapons. Oh, you know when you wanted to have used a stratagem, you know? 6s doing -4 and all that. Ah, what a roll. Okay, so 3, 6, 7 wounds. He's dead. Just, but he is dead. Okay, so that resolves that. So we'll go on to the poxwalkers. So 7, 10, 16. Okay. Unbelievably, 4 wounds. So 4 3-ups. Okay, it takes another wound. I just have jammed a nail in there somewhere or something. Okay, so it's down to 2 wounds remaining. Okay, and let's remove that sergeant. Consolidate these guys forward ever so slightly. Okay, can these last 2 marines hold the line? Let's have a look as we move on to Space Marines, turn 5. Okay, so we're on to Space Marines turn now. We've pretty much given up on this rhino now. It's lost in combat up here. There's no point in falling back because it can't do anything, and it's just tying a unit up, albeit pretty much useless. So that's out of the game now. He's not going to score us any points. He's not going to even, my attempt to drive that up and clear the way for it to at least get onto the objective. Maybe I'll have a think about what I could have done differently. I've got a fair idea. Anyway, in terms of, these are the two guys left. The sergeant passed his morale. He rolled a 2, and so basically we are on for the final stage here. Very brief summary, a couple of bit of shooting, and we'll try and go out in glorious melee. So we'll start with the plasma pistol into the Plague Marines, and yes, I will overcharge, because why not? In fact, you know what, it doesn't even matter, because damage 2 reduced by 1, so there's no point overcharging. That negates the plasma. That's the great thing about discussing resilient now. So hits on a 5, wounding on 3s, wounds, fails to save, and the Plague Marine on 1 wound goes pop. Okay, so grav weapon into the Marines, misses. Do you know what, nothing to lose. I'll use a CP to re-roll that. How the lieutenant can miss from that, I don't quite know. Okay, but any barely just hits, he must be really tired. Hits, does a wound, doesn't save, and that I believe is 3 damage, so should be negating that by 1, so another dead Marine. I'll double check that, and we'll move on to the charge phase. So now it is a damage characteristic of 2, obviously reduced down to 1 with Death Guard. God, that is so good. Then we'll put that over there. Okay, so that just puts a Marine on 1 wound. Okay. So charge phase, they can't fail, so they're pretty much auto in. So we'll get him over here and him into here. Okay, can't pile in much more than that. Okay, let's start off with the lieutenant. So 3 attacks base and 1 for shock assault. Hitting on 2s. All hit. Strength 9 versus, because of Anvil of Strength and the Burning Blade, the Strength 9 versus Toughness 5. So wounding on 3s. All wound. Okay. So they all wound, so that is -5, 2 damage reduced to 1 damage. So that is 2 Marines perish. The one on he wouldn't be eligible. I don't. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I don't think that's eligible. Okay, because of the way he's piled in, because of the way the Marines had lined themselves up. I can't get the sergeant through. I can't get the lieutenant through. So it'll be these 2 that have to go. Okay. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'll consolidate forward. And so finally the Burning Blade's actually done something. And then the sergeant with his Thunderhammer, again, he couldn't pile in anywhere apart from here. Okay, so anyway, we'll put the attacks in and see what happens. So that'll be 3 attacks, because 2 attacks and then 1 attack for shock assault. Hitting on 4s because it's unwieldy. So 2 hits. Strength 8 versus toughness 5 because of the 2 times the Thunderhammer. So hitting on, wounding on 3s. So it's 2 wounds. So we'll see. That is So that's -2, 3 damage. So looking for 5-ups. We make one, we fail one. Okay, so that's another marine. Goes pop. Okay, so the only thing that may happen here would be morale. Okay, so we'll do the morale to see if that unit is completely wiped. It'll be leadership 7 now. He's lost 4 of his squad. +2, no, he's fine. He would hold. Okay. So at the end of turn 5, at the end of the game, it looks like these 2 Marines, the Sergeant and the Lieutenant, have held the line. There is the 1 Plague Marine left. The Malignant Plague Caster is left. The Rhino and the squad of Poxwalkers. So at the end of the game, look, this was a test. See if it's something I could actually do. I have enjoyed it, albeit you know, pretty rusty on a lot of things. Haven't played in months, and hadn't played then for quite some years. So a few things I could have done differently really was I had to make a decision here, down here, when we had the Rhino was here. It had the Thunderhammer squad in it. I had to make a decision to disembark them and try and take this squad of Plague Marines out here who were threatening the lines already. I didn't think the Lieutenant on his own, plus his squad, was going to be enough. We'd already lost the intercessors over here, so what I potentially could have done is been a bit braver, left them in and took them up the board, and then potentially gotten rid of the Poxwalkers up there to score that objective at the far end. As it happens, again, given the fact that mistakes were made in terms of during the shooting phases and stuff like that into combat, look, if you've made it this far through, kudos to you watching this kind of stuff. So look, things weren't right, so maybe it would have been slightly different, but at the time, it felt like that was a right move to do, to try and get them out there and wipe the line here. As it happens, what it's meant is we've almost throttled the ability for the Space Marines to get any points. We've scored roughly 10 on the primaries per turn, but by that time, the first couple of turns when the Death Guard had already scored 15 because they're on 2 at the start of the phase, turn 2, which obviously means they're 15 because they're more than what I'm holding, as I understand it. So, and then from then on, me only scoring, the Space Marines only scoring 1 objective here, meant that we were already behind. As it looks now, I'll just double check the points, but I think there's about a 15, maybe more than that, points in it. Yeah, so if I've scored this right, we're 56 to 69 with the, I did tick the box for painting the models, but either which way you look at it, there's about 14 points in it, which again is down to the primaries being unable to be scored, in those first couple of rounds, plus a lot of work done by the Death Guard being in or engaged on all fronts, and a couple of extra bits in terms of scoring the spread the sickness points as well. So look, yes, I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, there's lots of things to learn from, lots of things I'll potentially, I've tried to lay things out, so I've got the stratagems that the both sides might use. I've got things to hand if I can help it. I'm trying to keep markers on the objectives so I know which ones have done which. I've got a couple of things in terms of narrative crusade ones that I might try and tweak and have a go with, but hopefully you've got this far in the video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And all it most say is thank you very much, and we'll go again soon.